Hey guys, today's fun video will be going over the Ultimate Ancient Dragon starter deck and how you can improve it. So, there's basically three parts to this video. One, we're gonna unbox the starter deck and go through the deck. Two, we're gonna look at cards that can help improve your deck and make it just better in general. And then three, we're gonna go through my personal Imperialdramon deck to kind of give you an idea of a coherent Imperialdramon deck in the current meta. And I think this is the best Imperial deck I've come up with so far. So let's just dive right in. So here we have the Ultimate Ancient Dragon, the ST9 starter deck, starring Imperialdramon and Imperialdramon, and some Digimon action too. So here's the deck list. Should be... So this is a really good deck, to be honest. You could just buy two of these and have a pretty decent, coherent deck. Mega Death is broken. Some of the level 4s in this are really powerful. The Vmons in this deck are really good. So yeah, that's the box. Nothing too exciting about it. As you can see, I already have another one already opened. I did a short on that one. Just did a fun little short unboxing. But this one we'll go through the full deck and actually talk about it. So here's the empty box, the plastic that it comes in. Nobody cares about that stuff, right? And the deck. First we take off the little strap here. Let's throw that out. And here's the deck. So first we have our babies. So here's Minomon. So it just says your turn. While you have a blue Digimon in play, this Digimon gets plus 1,000. Right away, you can throw this baby out. We're not running this baby. Because with Imperialdramon, most Vmons and most level 3s you're going to be running do not Digivolve onto a green baby. So, goodbye. Now here is the best rookie of the deck, Vmon. This is one of the reasons you buy this deck, because you want this Vmon. So Vmon costs 3 to play, 0 to Digivolve onto blue or green. He has 2k DP, and he says on play. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with free and its traits among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. It's just a really, really great searcher for the deck. You only get one, or you only get 2, which is unfortunate. That's why you need to buy at least 2 of these starter decks. Some of the important cards you're only going to get 2 of, and you want to run 4. So next we have Betamon, and you know, we're not going to worry too much about Betamon. You're not going to run him in the deck. He's an okay Digimon. He looks cute, but other than that, we're not going to worry about this guy because he kind of sucks. Here's X-Vmon, another card that we're not really going to worry too much about, but he's cool. He costs 4 to play, 2 to Digivolve onto a green or a blue. He has 4k DP, and he says when you would play this card from your hand, if you have a green Digimon in play, reduce its play cost by 1. Really nifty, really handy there. And then his inheritance says, when attacking, if you have a green Digimon in play, this Digimon gets plus 1,000 DP for the turn. And that's okay. We're not going to worry too much about this guy as well, because there's a Steam one that basically does what he does, just better all around. Alright, here is what I believe is the star of the show, basically the boss card of the deck, Imperialdramon. So he costs 8 to play, 4 to Digivolve into a blue or a green level 5, he has 8k DP, and he has a DNA Digivolution that says 0 from a blue level 4 and a green level 4. Then he has when Digivolving, when DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less to the bottom of its owner's deck, which can be really handy. Get rid of those annoying blockers. And then he says, when attacking once per turn, unsuspend this Digimon. So you're going to be attacking with this guy multiple times. And that's kind of the point of the deck, is you DNA Digivolve into this dude, and you swing twice. Then you can Digivolve into Imperialdramon Dragon Mode. So he costs 13 to play, 4 Digivolve, onto a blue or a green level 5. He has 12k DP, and he says when Digivolving, you may play 1 level 4 or lower blue Digimon card and or 1 level 4 or lower green Digimon card from this Digimon's Digivolution cards without paying its memory cost. So yeah, you just attack with this guy twice, then you Digivolve into him, playing those sources under this dude, so you can just potentially Digivolve into another one. So again, the deck gives you only 2 of these guys, so you need to get 2 starter decks to get 4 Imperialdramons. It's very important. You need to have 4 of them in your deck. You only really need to run 2 of these, so it doesn't really matter. Here's Kokabutarimon. So we're going to be running blue babies, so you can't really run this guy in the deck. He just gets blocker if you have a blue Digimon in play. It's nothing too special. Here's Wormmon. We're also not really going to be running this guy. His inheritance lets you DNA Digivolve at the end of your turn, but the deck doesn't want you to do that. It wants you to DNA Digivolve on your turn, so you can actually do stuff with those Digimon you just DNA Digivolve with. You don't want to DNA Digivolve into Imperialdramon and not do anything with him, because he can be pretty vulnerable. So yeah, we're not going to run Wormmon, but you get 4 of them. Alright, Stingmon. So he costs 4 to play, 2 to digivolve onto a green or a blue level 3. He has 4k DP, and he says, when you would play this card from your hand, if you have a blue Digimon in play, reduce its play cost by 1. Then he says, when attacking, if you have a blue Digimon in play, draw 1. So this is the card you'd definitely be running over XVmon. It has really powerful draw power. It is now once per turn. And this guy can end up being 3 cost level 4, which is just incredible. Really helps get your Imperialdramons out really fast. So next we have Snymon. Again, we're not going to worry about Snymon too much. He's a cool security Digimon that plays himself. And then on play, he suspends one of your opponent's Digimon. But it's really not something that we're going to worry about for the deck. So next we have the second DNA Digivolution card of the deck. And this is Dinobemon. So he costs 8 to play, 4 to Digivolve onto a green or a blue level 4. He has 8k DP. He DNA Digivolves onto a green and a blue level 4. And then he says, when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. When DNA Digivolving, that Digimon doesn't unsuspend during your opponent's unsuspend phase. And as Inheritance says, your turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for each of its colors. So Dinobemon is not a bad card. You do get 4 of him. You can definitely run this guy in your deck. I have chosen to run Chimeramon over Dinobemon completely, which, you know, that's just my choice. I think Chimeramon's a really, really solid card. Dinobemon's still really good card, being able to suspend your opponent's Digimon and get that DP bonus that you might just need. It's a really solid card. If you don't have Chimeramon, he's definitely worth running, 100%. Next we have Jewelbemon, which is just another vanilla Digimon that we're not going to worry too much about. Just a 7 cost level 5. I mean, there's nothing too special about this card. Then we have Grand Kawagamon. So he costs 12 to play, 3 to Digivolve into a level 5. He has 11k DP. And he has security attack plus 1, and then when Digivolving, this Digimon gets plus 4000 DP for the turn. So again, we're not going to worry too much about this guy. All your level 5s in the deck will be green, except maybe Chimeramon. So you could run him, but I just don't think it's worth running. Imperialdramon gives you so much more value. Plus, there are other level 6s that we'll talk about later in the video that just support the deck so much better. Alright, now we have Megadeth, one of the best option cards in the game. So it's blue and green. It costs 5 to play, and it says main. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. And its security effect activates the main effect. So you just get to suspend something and then bounce any suspended Digimon. You could just target the Digimon you suspended. Megadeth is a very powerful card. It only costs 5 to play, and you can bounce anything. There's so many times this card has saved my life, and it has just given me an extra turn to help me set up or do something that I might need to win the game. So yeah, Megadeth is very important for the deck. You really only need to run 2, but you could get away with 3. I think 3 is also a solid number. Yeah, Megadeth, most important option card in the deck, I think. Next we have Hell Masquerade. Nothing too special about this card. It's just a 1 cost, gives you Digimon plus 2000 DP. Then if you have a blue Digimon in play, one of your guys gains Piercing. We're not going to worry too much about this card. You're not really going to be running it in the deck. And we also have Flower Cannon. Flower Cannon just gets to suspend one of your Digimon. And its security effect suspends all of your Digimon without blocker, which can be pretty useful. But we're also not going to worry too much about this card. Imperial doesn't care about suspending too much. Its main goal is to just win as fast as it can. So here's all the memory counters. There's Dinobemon. Here's Imperialdramon. Pretty cool. And then here are the rule guides. Whatever. So that is ST9, Ultimate Ancient Dragon. So now you have your hands on 2 copies of the starter deck. How can you improve it? Well, why don't we dive in and check out all the Digimon cards currently in the card game that help support this deck. Alright, so I took both decks. I got 4 copies of each card and I just laid it all down here. These are all the cards that come with the starter decks. So I think the first thing you can notice is there's no tamers. So we're definitely going to be throwing in tamers into this. So how do we turn this into a competitive deck? Why don't we dive into this list of cards that I've prepared. Cards throughout the history of Digimon that I feel help support this archetype just beautifully. Alrighty. So first we're going to start off with some babies. So here's Demivemon from the Ulforce Vidramon starter deck. He says while you have 8 or more cards in your hand, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. It can be useful, but I don't think it's the baby you want to be running. Here's Bukamon. It says your turn once per turn. When you play a Digimon from one of your Digimon's Digivolution cards, gain a memory. This can also be somewhat useful. You will be playing Digimon from your sources. I mean, often enough, it's part of your main strategy. So gaining a memory just for doing that can be pretty handy. However, the main baby I think you should be running is Demi-Vmon from BT3. So he says when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has jamming, draw 1. The deck has really great draw power, and Demi-Vmon really contributes to that. So this is the baby I think we should be running. Alright, next we have Gabumon. So Gabumon costs 3 to play, 0 Digivolve, he has 1k DP, and he says on play, draw 1. You could just play him, draw a card, or Digivolve into the breeding area and still draw a card. When you play Imperialdramon, you could play him for free, which can be useful. Gabumon's pretty handy, although nowadays, he's not as useful as it used to be. Still a decent card. Here's a 2-cost rookie, just a vanilla 2-cost, which, you know, can be handy. Getting a Digimon out real quick for like 2 memory can be really useful. Other than that, Electmon doesn't have any other purpose than just getting him out really fast. Here's Madoki Betamon. So Madoki Betamon costs 3 to play, has 2k DP, and he says, all turns, your opponent can't gain memory except with Tamer effects. So this is a really handy rookie. Blocking your opponent from gaining memory can be so useful, especially some decks that might rely on memory gain through their strategy. This card just shuts them down. So just a really handy and useful rookie. Definitely something you should be looking into. Next we have Sayakomon, which is similar to Madoki Betamon. And he says, opponent's turn, your opponent can reduce Digivolution costs. So this can also be super helpful when your opponent wants to play big guys for cheap. There are a lot of decks, especially coming into BT11, where reducing Digivolution costs do become a pretty solid thing again. So keep an eye out on this guy. This card definitely is something worth looking into, especially in the next meta. So next we have Labramon from EX2. So Labramon costs 3 to play, 0 to Digivolve. He has 1k DP, and he says when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has jamming, gain a memory. So this is going to be a rookie that we are going to be running in the deck. We're going to be running 4 of this bad boy. Gaining memory just by swinging is powerful. You could have a setup where you're drawing a card, and you're gaining a memory just by attacking. Labramon I feel like is an important rookie in the deck, and you should be running him. Alright, next up is our Vmons, and there's a pretty good variety of Vmons. And as you can see, the majority of them do not Digivolve onto a green baby. So that's why we're running a blue baby in the deck. So first off, we have EX1 Vmon, so he costs 3 to play, 0 to Devolve, his 2k DP, and he says your turn, once per turn. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain a memory. And of course, Imperialdramon likes to unsuspend. There are other cards in the deck that also unsuspend, like Magnamon, things like that. So Vmon is a really solid choice for the deck. You're gaining memory just by doing your main thing, which usually is attacking and unsuspending. So this card's going in our deck. Next we have Vmon from BT2. So he costs 2 to play, 0 Digivolve, he has 2k DP, and his inheritance says, your turn, once per turn. When this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, trigger draw 1. So it's not a terrible effect. Again, you're drawing cards, which is pretty handy, but I feel that gaining memory is just better than drawing a card. You've already got effects that let you draw cards, so I don't think you need to worry too much about draw power in the deck. Blue loves to draw cards, and Imperial especially likes to draw cards. So in my opinion, this Vmon isn't really needed in the deck. Alright, next we have BT8 Vmon. So he costs 3 to play, 0 to Digivolve onto a blue or a green baby. He has 2k DP. He says, on play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 2-color blue Digimon card among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So when you first read this card, you might think, wow, this actually is a good card for the deck, right? But when it comes to it, it's really not. You're only allowed to grab a 2-color card. So essentially, you're grabbing any level 5 or higher Digimon. You can't grab a level 4. You can't grab your level 3s. You can't even grab your high-end Digimon, like your level 7s. This card can only grab your level 5s and level 6s in the deck, which is why I don't think it's very valuable for the deck, at least not right now. The deck will probably get more dual color cards as time goes on, and as that happens, this card will become more and more valuable for the deck, but for now, I just don't think it's really worth playing in the deck. Next, we have Jamming Vmon. So he costs 3 to play, 0 to Digivolve, he has 2k DP, and of course, he's got Jamming. Again, a very powerful Vmon. I just don't think it's worth running in the deck. I know it's funny to think because, like, you can draw cards with Demi-Vmon and things like that. I know it's funny to say that. Like, what? You don't want to run Jamming Vmon in your Imperialdramon deck? Times have changed. And we're not really worrying too much about rushing our opponent with our rookies. In fact, in my opinion, in Imperialdramon, the rookies have a pretty specific role of buffing up your bigger guys. You're going to want to end up swinging with your level 4s instead. you're going to want to attack with X-Vmon over him, because X-Vmon can gain those inheritances, lets you gain memory. So in my opinion, jamming Vmon doesn't suit the deck much anymore, and he's a lot better in like Armor Rush. But if you want to run him, go for it. He's still a really powerful card. And lastly, we got Vmon from the Ulforce Digimon starter deck. So he costs 3 to play, 0 to Digivolve. He has 2k DP, and he says, your turn. If your opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon in play, the Digimon can Digivolve into an Ulforce Digimon in your hand for memory cost of 4, ignoring its Digivolution requirements. And his inheritance says, when attacking, if you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand, trigger draw 1. So let me just say right off the bat, you do not run Ulforce Digimon in Imperialdramon. You just don't. There's no space for him, there's no need for him. So if you're running this guy, you're doing it for the inheritance. And draw power is also really, really nice. However, I don't think you need to run this Vmon. There are just better rookies, there are better Vmons, there's just better cards in general to run in your deck over this guy. But if Ulforce Digimon ever finds itself nestled in the Imperialdramon archetype, this card can definitely see some use in Imperial. But until then, I don't think he's really useful in the deck. So those are the rookies I wanted to show off. Next we have our level 4s. And we're starting off with Magnamon. So Magnamon costs 7 to play. 4 to Digivolve onto a yellow or a blue level 3. He has 7k DP. He has a Black Bar evolution that says Digivolve 3 from Vmon. He has Blocker and Armor Purge. And then when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon and it gets plus 2000 DP until the end of your opponent's next turn for each card with Armor Form and its traits in your trash. So Magnamon is a really powerful blocker in the deck. Other than him, I'd say Leomon is the other best blocker. Armor Purge can be really helpful. You could literally just swing or block with this dude, and then you have a Vmon that's just safe and free on the board, or Labramon if you really needed it to do that. And then you have a level 3 on board that's just safe and ready to Digivolve and go into Imperialdramon. Magnamon is a top tier blocker and a top tier card for the deck, and I definitely think you should be running at least 2 of him in the deck. The next blocker I want to talk about is Leomon from EX2. So he costs 6 to play, 2 to Digivolve, he has 4k DP, and he says opponent's turn. While you have a Tamer in play, this Digimon gains Blocker, and then on deletion, gain 2 memory and draw 1 card. So yeah, this card can be pretty nasty. If your opponent has to deal with it, and you have a Tamer in play, you're getting 2 memory and you're drawing a card when he dies, which can be really, really solid. I think Leomon is a pretty decent card, and definitely something you could run in your Imperialdramon deck, especially if you find yourself not being able to find Magnamon, or if they're just too expensive for yourself. Leomon is definitely a great card to replace it with. I like Magnamon more just because Armor Purge is really helpful. It does unsuspend himself, and he also has free in its traits, so you can search it a lot easier in the deck. But yeah, Leomon is a really solid card in the deck, and if you want to run it, I do not blame you. It's a really good card. Now, one last blocker to talk about is Sealamon. So he costs 6 to play, 1 to Digivolve, pretty nice, 5k DP. He's got Blocker, and then when attacking, lose 2 memory. So this is really just a 1-cost level 4. That's a blocker too. Not much else to say about this card. It's a solid card. If you don't have access to any other blockers, then you definitely should be looking into this guy, because at least you have a cheap blocker in this card. And if anything else, it's a 1-cost level 4, so you can get your level 5s really fast if you really, really need to. Next, we have Imperialdramon from the Ulforce Digimon starter deck as well. So he costs 6 to play, 2 to Digivolve. He has 5k DP. He plays himself from the security, and then he has an on-play effect that lets you draw 2 cards. So Imperialdramon is also a really solid card. You can also play this guy through Imperialdramon's Digivolving effect, so you can just draw 2 cards by Digivolving, which can be pretty solid. However, at the end of the day, it's basically a vanilla Digimon, no inheritances, so it doesn't really help your deck other than giving you that draw power. So yeah, Imperialdramon's a cool Digimon, but it's really niche and it has 1 role, and by the time you use him, you're gonna wish he was something else, like X-Vmon. Well, not this X-Vmon, but anyway, here's X-Vmon from BT3. It's a solid contender. I mean, he costs 5 to play, 2 to Digivolve, he has 4k DP. He says when Digivolving, unsuspend one of your level 4 lower Digimon. So like back in the day, this card was kind of decent. You would say promote Vmon, swing with him, then use Digivolve into X-Vmon and unsuspend himself, and then you could just attack again if you wanted to. Little history for you Imperial players. So yeah, X-Vmon's it's a decent card. It's not the X-Vmon you want to run, but if you can't find yourself with any others, then I mean, it's not a bad card. Being able to unsuspend, is nice. You get memory off of Vmon if you need to. You can also combo with this Vmon. It's decent, but again, it was lost through time. There's a better X-Vmon out there, and this is him from EX1. So it costs 5 to play, 2 to Digivolve onto a blue or a green level 4. He has 4k DP. He's got that good old jamming. But what really makes this card stand out is his inheritance. It says your turn. While this Digimon has Imperialdramon in its name or free in its traits, it gains jamming. So, just about all your level 5s and all your level 6s will be getting jamming through this bad boy. I would say this is probably the most important level 4 in the deck. This XVmon gives you that inheritance. He's got jamming. He combos with your rookies and your baby. He lets you draw a card with this baby. And he can get you a memory with this guy. It's just a really solid card. This is a mandatory card in the deck. You need to run 4 of him. So next we have Flamedramon from BT8. So he costs 5 to play. 3 to Digivolve onto a red level 3. He has 5k DP. He has Armor Purge. And then when attacking, this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP for the turn. So this is a solid option for the deck. Also, I forgot to mention, he costs 2 to Digivolve onto any Vmon. So he's Digivolving onto your Vmons. He can't Digivolve into Labramon if you're running him. So keep in mind if you're going to be running this guy. Yeah, Flamedramon's a great card. When he's attacking, he has AKDP, which can be pretty nuts for a level 4. Other than that, you're not going to be using this card too much. He's really best for like early game. It's still a solid option. Plus, adding red to your deck can be kind of nice. Imperial can run a little tiny red package, and this card could help towards that. So yeah, Flamedramon is a decent card, although I wouldn't really recommend running him in your deck. Next, we have Lydramon, another armor form Digimon, who also costs 5 to play. 3 to Digivolve onto a level 3 green. He has 5k DP. He Digivolves for 2 onto a Vmon. He's got Armor Purge. Then when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So this card definitely is better to run in the deck. It's green and blue, so it can Digivolve into any of your guys. You could have 2 of these guys on the board and go straight into Imperialdramon, which can be really, really useful. I no longer run this card in my deck just because I don't really find the space for it. I've kind of replaced the Armor Purge Digimon in my deck for blockers and just cards that add more consistency to the deck. And while Lydramon does add consistency to the deck, it's also free, so you can search it pretty easily. I just find myself not needing it in the deck, but it's something that you definitely should be looking into. It's a great card to run. Next, we have Stingmon from EX1. So he costs 6 to play, 2 to Digivolve onto a level 3 green or a blue. He has 5k DP, and he's got Piercing. And then his inheritance says, your turn. While this Digimon has Imperialdramon in its name or free in its traits, it gains Piercing. So it can be a very useful card. You can just delete Digimon on your opponent's side of the field that are suspended. But other than that, I don't really think you need to rely on this card. I think XVmon is better than this guy, and the starter deck Stingmon is better than this one too. I'm not saying it's a bad card. I'm just saying it's not the best. It's not the best level 4 you can run in the deck. Next, we have the 2 hybrid options, or at least the 2 best hybrid options of the deck: Lobomon and Kumamon. Lobomon's just a simple hybrid Digimon. You just evolve into level 4 and swing. Whatever. Kumamon, however, when Digivolving, trashes 1 Digivolution card from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So I think this is the better hybrid to use over Lobomon. However, if you have Lobomon's alternate art, I do not blame you if you just want to run this guy over him. At the end of the day, it's Lobomon for game, right? If you're Digivolving your Kumamon onto a level 3 or a Tamer that isn't just to swing for game, then you're kind of using your hybrid wrong. Alright, next we got a short list of level 5s. So first we have Chimeramon. So Chimeramon costs 8 to play. Costs 4 to Digivolve onto any level 4. Has AKDP. He Digivolves onto any 2 level 4 Digimon. Then he says, when Digivolving, you may place 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card from your trash onto the Digimon at its bottom Digivolution card. Then up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for each of this Digimon's color until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then he says, your turn. This Digimon is treated as also having the colors of its Digivolution cards. While this Digimon has 4 or more colors, it gets plus 4000 DP. So it could easily get to 12k DP on your turn, which can be really helpful. But other than that, Digivolving onto 2 of any level 4s is nice. You don't have to worry about having a green and a blue to go into like Imperialdramon. Obviously, Imperialdramon is the main card you want to get into, but Chimeramon is also really helpful. You can Digivolve into this dude and then take any level 5 or lower Digimon from your trash, put them under it, set yourself up for your level 6s, and honestly, it's just a really powerful strategy to do that. There's been times where I've gone into Chimeramon and I was able to not only delete Digimon, but my opponent was just kind of sitting there with this big fat Chimeramon who Digivolved into Imperialdramon, and then I just played a bunch of guys for free. And that's another thing about Chimeramon too, is you're placing a level 5 or lower under him, so you can pretty much just place any Digimon you want under him that you're gonna play for free with Imperialdramon. Chimeramon is a powerful Digimon card. This thing can probably run in almost any deck if it's right at home in Imperialdramon. I run 2 in my deck personally, and I really think that you should be running at least one of these guys in your deck. Alright, next up we got our Imperialdramons. So here's Imperialdramon from EX1. He costs 8 to play, 3 to Digivolve onto a blue or a green level 4, 7k DP. He says when Digivolving, if the Digimon has free in its traits, in the Digimon's Digivolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon. And his inheritance says, your turn. While this Digimon has Imperialdramon in its name, it can't be blocked. So this is a pretty solid Imperialdramon. He unsuspends himself, and he makes Imperialdramon unblockable. However, Imperialdramon in the starter deck is just better. DNA Digivolving is just better. You don't want to pay the 3 memory to Digivolve into this guy. Yucky, gross. No, you want to DNA Digivolve for free. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad card though. It's just not a great card. It's, in my opinion, it's the worst Imperialdramon printed so far. Now we have Imperialdramon from BT3. So he got 7 to play. 3 to Digivolve onto a level 4 blue or green. He has 7k DP. The bad boy's got jamming. And then he has a really cool inheritance that says, when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has Imperialdramon in its name, unsuspended. Back in the day, this was a powerful card. And even today, this card's still really good. Being able to unsuspend your Imperialdramon can be really, really freaking useful. However, the trade-off is you won't get that free DNA Digivolving. But I still believe in this card. If you want to run this card, do it. I think it's an awesome card. It's really powerful. Especially back in the day, this was a game-winning card. So yeah, it's a solid option. Just understand that the new Imperialdramon is just infinitely better than this guy. That's why we don't run any of the older Imperialdramons, because the new one's just straight up better than both of them combined. Anyway. Next we have Digimon. So here's Digimon from BT3. So it costs 8 to play, 3 to Digivolve onto a level 4 green or a blue, 7k DP. He's got piercing and jamming. So again, another solid card. No inheritance, so I mean that sucks, but whatever. Piercing and jamming is a really, really solid combination. You're just going to be killing your opponent's Digimon and then security checking and basically checking for free. But as I said with the other Imperialdramons, the current level 5s that we have access to for the Imperialdramon deck are just so much better than the level 5s we've had before. So while this is a really solid card, it's just been outperformed by Imperialdramon from the starter deck and Chimeramon too. Chimeramon is just a really great card. So while this is also a really good card, it's just not worth running. The last NLB we have to show is from EX1. So it costs 8 to play, 3 Digivolve from a level 4, green or blue. It says when Digivolving, if a Digimon with free and has traits in Digimon's Digivolution cards, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Then his inheritance says, your turn. When one of your Digimon with Imperialdramon in its name deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, gain a memory. So overall, I think this card's just very lackluster. Suspend an opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less, I mean, meh. Why not just suspend an opponent's Digimon? And then you're getting a memory when he deletes an opponent's Digimon and survives in battle. I can see this card being decent if you're running like a purely green Imperialdramon deck, like BT3 Imperialdramon. But other than that, this card kind of sucks. I just don't think it's worth running. And it's not even worth looking at, really. So, to the trash. And the last level 5 I wanted to look at was Shakomon from BT3. So he costs 8 to play, 3 to Digivolve onto a level 4 yellow or blue Digimon. 7k DP. He says your turn. This Digimon is also treated as blue, and then opponent's turn. All your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards gain security attack -1. So this can be a really solid card if your opponent, say, just went wide. Of course, your opponent can just Digivolve onto their Digimon and make this card useless, but in those really niche moments, those really niche situations, it can be somewhat useful for the deck. Actually, we have one more level 5 to look at. If you're running Magnamon, then you could run this guy in your deck. So here's Shakomon from BT8. So it costs 8 to play. 4 Digivolve onto a yellow or a blue level 4. His AKDP. DNA Digivolve onto a level 4 yellow and blue. So he says when Digivolving, if you have 5 or fewer security cards, recover 1. Then, when DNA Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon whose level is less than or equal to the number of cards in your security stack to its owner's hand. And as inheritance says, when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. So, I mean, it's just a solid option. You could just run one of him to potentially recover. Imperial doesn't have any real recovery options, so being able to just throw like one recovery option can be pretty useful. Other than that, it is pretty niche. You do need to have like Magnamon out and another level 4 out. However, it can be somewhat useful for the deck. So I figured I'd just let you guys know about the card. So now on to our level 6s. So here's Imperialdramon from EX1. So guys 12 to play. 3 Digivolve onto a level 5 green or blue Digimon. He has 11k DP. And he says when Digivolving, if a Digimon with free and its traits in the Digimon Digivolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then he says your turn. For each common Digimon's Digivolution cards, it gets plus 1000 DP. So, you know, it's not a bad Imperialdramon card. Being able to unsuspend itself and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon can be pretty useful. However, when it comes to Imperialdramons, this actually might be one of the worst. The DP boost can be pretty useful, although you're not going to be relying on it too much. So, yeah, Imperialdramon EX1, probably don't want to run it. Now here's Imperialdramon from BT3. So it got 13 to play, 5 to Digivolve onto a green or a blue level 5, 12k DP, and he says, when one of your Imperialdramons or Dinobemons would Digivolve into this card from in your hand, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 2. So he costs 3 to Digivolve onto Imperialdramon or Dinobemon. He's got Jamming, and then when Digivolving, unsuspend all your Digimon with Jamming. Back in the day, this card was crazy. A menace, as some might say. You Digivolve into this guy, he unsuspend himself, and he unsuspend all your Digimon with Jamming. And that was really crazy back in the day. Nowadays, you're not going to be using it, but it's still a really solid contender, and I still believe in this card. And if you want to run this card, go for it. I think you can get a lot of success with this card. There's BT3 Imperial. Here's the other BT3 Imperialdramon. This one's green, just pure green. So it costs 13 to play, 5 to Digivolve onto a level 5 green or blue. He has 12k DP. It's also reduced when he Digivolves onto a Imperialdramon or a Dinobemon, so he costs 3 for those guys. He has Piercing, and then your turn. Once per turn. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, unsuspend this Digimon. So, I mean, it can be pretty useful. It is once per turn, though, so you can't just wipe a board with this guy. So that's a little unfortunate. But being able to just delete a Digimon and unsuspend itself can be pretty useful. With certain combos, you could be unsuspending this guy multiple times per turn. However, again, it's really niche. You have to delete opponent's Digimon in order to get that effect off. If your opponent doesn't have any Digimon or any Digimon that aren't suspended, then he's kind of just a vanilla Digimon. In my opinion, I think this is the worst Imperialdramon that we've gotten so far. So next we have Imperialdramon Fighter Mode from BT8. So he costs 12 to play, 5 to Digivolve onto a level 5 blue or a green. He has 13k DP. He has a Black Bar evolution that's 2 if name contains a Dragon Mode. So you can just Digivolve onto any Dragon Mode for 2 memory, which is pretty nice. So he says, when Digivolving, return one of your opponent's Digimon with 10,000 DP or less to its owner's hand, and then when attacking, once per turn. If a blue Digimon card is in his Digimon's Digivolution cards, unsuspend one of your Digimon. If a green Digimon is in the Digimon Digivolution cards, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So it's just a really powerful top end card. So like when you Digivolve into Imperialdramon, you play those like level 4s out. You can Digivolve into this dude. You can bounce one of your opponent's Digimon. And depending on like the situation you're in, you could either use Davis and Ken to unsuspend when you Digivolve into him, or you just Digivolve into him and attack and unsuspend him. And this guy's capable of doing a lot of attacks in the turn. Really solid fighter mode. This is the fighter mode we're gonna be running in the deck. There is one other fighter mode, however, it just doesn't really blend well with the deck as much as we would hope. So our last fighter mode is from EX3. This one is a purple and a red card, which is pretty interesting. So it costs 13 to play, costs 5 to Digivolve onto a purple or a red level 5. He's got 13k DP. He has a Black Revolution that costs 2 if name contains Dragon Mode, so this guy can Digivolve onto any of your Dragon Modes. He's got Piercing. And it says, when Digivolving, you may return one Imperialdramon Dragon Mode from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck to prevent your opponent's security effects from activating for the turn. Then he has an on-deletion effect that says, you may play one Wormmon and one Vmon from your trash without paying their memory cost. So there are situations where this card could be pretty useful in Imperial, like in blue and green Imperial, but for the most part, you're probably going to be running this guy in the purple and red card. I did want to bring him up though, because he can Digivolve onto any of your Dragon Modes, and he can nullify your opponent's security effects, which is really crazy. On deletion, he does play a Vmon, so that's going to be nice. If you're running Wormmon, then you can play Wormmon as well, but more likely you're going to be running Vmon, so being able to play a Digimon after something dies is pretty useful. However, you probably won't be running this card. It's just a niche option. Lastly, for our level 6s, we have Magnamon X Antibody from BT9. So it costs 12 to play, 3 to Digivolve onto a yellow or a blue level 5. He has 11k DP. He can Digivolve for 4 onto Magnamon. And he says, opponent's turn. When an opponent's Digimon attacks, if a card with armor form in its traits or X Antibody is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, you may switch the target of attack to this Digimon. Then, all turns. When this Digimon would be deleted, you may place the top card of this Digimon on top of your security stack face down to prevent that deletion. So he's got Pseudo Blocker and Pseudo Armor Purge. Except with his Pseudo Armor Purge, you're recovering one instead of trashing this card. A solid option for the deck. If you're running Magnamons, then you probably want to run at least one of these guys. He can be a really useful blocker, and he can be a really useful recovery option. That Pseudo Blocker is better than regular blocker because he doesn't have to be unsuspended to activate that effect. He could be suspended and still block an attack. Yeah, Magnamon X Antibody's powerful card and something that you should definitely look into running in your Imperial deck. Now on to our level 7s. There aren't many options for level 7s. Now of course there's Death Xmon. He's just a board wiper, just a broken card. You probably want to be running at least one of these guys in your deck. Do I really need to explain what this card does? Here, just pause the video and read him if you really don't know what he does. I've talked about him a lot on my channel. He's a broken card. Of course, Blitz Omnimon is really, really good. You Digivolve into any of your Imperialdramons. you blitz for game. That's really what he's all there for. He's essentially hybrid, but for your level 6s. You don't really need to run this card anymore, but I still think it's a really powerful option, and if all you're trying to do is win as fast as you can, then this is definitely something you want to throw into your deck. Now, this is more of a joke because I want to show off the alt art as usual, but you could potentially run Omnimon from BT1. He deletes all Digimon that share the same name that you delete, and he can unsuspend himself. So I mean, it's a useful card. You probably just don't really want to run him. You're gonna be running Blitz over him. Still a beautiful card. And lastly, we have Imperialdramon Paladin mode, which I just put him in here for the sake of, because he has Imperialdramon in his name. He's part of the family. But overall, this card sucks. It does not fit the Imperialdramon archetype really at all. The only way we're going to be running Paladin mode in Imperialdramon is if they just make a new Paladin mode. He's got a big wall of text, so if you do want to read him, you can just pause the video and read him right here. But other than that, it's not something you're going to be wanting to run. I pretty much brought him out here to let you know that this card, it's noob bait. Don't run this card. He's bad. Alright, next we have our Tamers, and there's only 2 Tamers you're going to be running in the deck. Davis, and Ken. So Davis is a memory setter. He lets you reveal the top 3 cards. You can add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon. Really powerful, really helpful searcher for the deck. And then Davis and Ken is a pretty interesting card. At the start of your main phase, if you have a blue Digimon, you gain a memory. If you have a green Digimon, you gain a memory. And then if one of your Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon with 2 or more colors, you can suspend this Tamer to unsuspend the Digimon digivolving. So really handy, really useful, especially if you want to go full aggression. Like Imperialdramon, you swing twice with him, digivolve into Imperialdramon, then you can suspend this dude to unsuspend Imperialdramon, or you wait till you get into fighter mode, suspend this dude to unsuspend your fighter mode, and then swing multiple times with him as well. Yeah, so those are the Tamers you're going to run in the deck. You don't really need to run any other Tamer in the deck. So next we have some option cards. So of course, Hammer Spark, 0 memory for 1, and then in security, gain 2 memory. Really solid option. You're going to be running between 2 to 4 in your deck. I think 3 is the sweet spot because Ice Wall also kind of contributes to what this card does in the security. So yeah, really nice card. Speaking of Ice Wall, it's limited, so you can only run 1. But of course, it's a really handy, nifty card. Costs 1. It gives all of your opponent's Digimon 1 attack and lose 2 memory until the end of their turn. And then of course, in security, gain 2 memory. It's just a really powerful card. There's a reason it's limited to 1. So yeah, you're going to be running 1 of him. Our next card is also limited. So this is a green card. Hidden Potential Discover, or HPD as many people like to call it. So it costs 0 to play, and it says main. The next time one of your green Digimon digivolves its turn, you may suspend one of your Digimon to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 5. And then security also adds it to your hand. Powerful card. You can only run 1 in your deck. I'm pretty sure you can understand why. This card also combos itself in the deck. You could target the Digimon that's digivolving, you could suspend it, digivolve into like Imperialdramon, and then with your Davis and Ken, you could suspend them and unsuspend it. So again, solid card, really powerful. So next we have Blue Memory Boost. The Memory Boost cards are really great. They all cost 3 to play. At least the OG vanilla Memory Boosts. This card lets you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 blue Digimon card among them, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. Then it has delay, so you place this card in your battle area, and then the next turn, you can trash it and gain 2 memory. Memory Boost is a really solid card, and you definitely want to be running some in your deck. So next we have Digivolution Plugin S. So it costs 2 to play. It says while you have a Tamer in play, you may use this card without meeting its color requirements. And it says main, draw 1. Then, you may digivolve one of your Digimon to Digimon card in your hand that can digivolve for a Digivolution cost of 3 or less without paying its Digivolution cost. So, when you use this card, you can only digivolve into a Digimon that costs 3 to digivolve. Or less. Its security effect also says reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 Digimon card among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order, then add this card to your hand. So this card really is just more of a turn ender, or if you need to digivolve into something for 2 memory instead of just the 3. That can be a useful card for the deck. I've never really used it in the deck myself, but I can see how it can be useful. We also have Offensive Plugin A. So it costs 2 to play. It says while you have a Tamer in play, you may use this card without meeting its color requirements. This is main. One of your Digimon gains security attack +1 for the turn. That can be pretty useful. And its security effect also says reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 Tamer card among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then add this card to your hand. So it can be a useful card. You can search Tamers with it. Giving your guy security attack +1 is really powerful. I just don't feel like Imperial needs it that much because it's going to be attacking a lot anyway. And lastly, for our option cards, we have Giga Death. It's blue and green. It costs 9 to play. It's a little steep. And it says main. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then place up to 10 of your opponent's suspended Digimon at the bottom of their deck in any order. In the right situation, this card is brutal. This card really can turn the tables and literally just make you win the game. Its security effect then says, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of its owner's deck. And that also can be really useful, just getting rid of a Digimon in general. Overall, it's a pretty decent card, but it also costs 9. It's really expensive. Its security effect doesn't do its main effect, which can be kind of frustrating. But when you do get this card off, and it actually is useful, this card is disgusting. Just Mega Death is just better. It's just better. So those are the option cards. But there is a little red package that you could run in Imperialdramon. So I did lie earlier. There is another tamer you could play. So here's Matt and Sora from BT9. They cost 4 to play. Start of your main phase. If you have 8 or more cards in your hand, gain a memory. If your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, gain a memory. And they go on to say, your turn, when one of your blue or red Digimon becomes unsuspended, you may suspend this tamer to return one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. So it can be useful. Your Digimon are unsuspending pretty often in the deck. And of course, it gives you access to red option cards. And one red option card that's really useful is a Delicate Plant. It costs 1 to play, and this card says, main, one of your Digimon gains. This Digimon doesn't check the security effects of any option cards it checks for the turn. So it shuts down all of your opponent's option cards in the security, which can be so useful for you, especially with Imperialdramon, which doesn't necessarily have a lot of protection. Your opponent can straight up just delete your Digimon or bounce them or whatever, and there's nothing really you can do about it, but this card does give you some protection in that aspect. I don't run any red packages in my Imperial decks, but they are a solid option to try out. So these are most of the cards I could think of that I think support the Imperialdramon archetype. If you guys think of anything else that I may have missed or forgot about, let me know in the comments below. So now that we've gone through a lot of the cards that I think can really help improve your deck, why don't we look at my Imperial deck now, and show you what I have done to build this deck myself. So the Imperialdramon deck that I put together, I feel is pretty straightforward. So we got our 4 babies, Demi Vmon, we've got EX1 Vmon, we've got the starter deck Vmon, and then we have EX2 Labramon. For our level 4s, we have 4 Stingmons from the starter deck, 4 EX1 X Vmons, 1 Kumamon from BT7, 2 Magnamons from BT8. For our level 5s, we have 2 Chimeramons from BT8, 4 Pyldramons from the starter deck, 2 Fighter Modes from BT8, 2 Dragon Modes from BT8, and 1 Magnamon X Antibody from BT9. For our level 7s, we have 1 Omnimon from BT5, the Blitz Omnimon. We have Death Xmon from BT9. And then for our tamers, we have 3 Davis and Kent from BT8, we have 3 Davis from BT3, and then for our options, we have 2 Hammer Sparks from the starter deck. We have 2 Mega Deaths from the starter deck. 2 Memory Boosts from promos. They're from... You can get these guys in the Ulforce Vidramon starter deck. The alt art is from the BT7 box topper. Then we have 1 Ice Wall from EX1 and 1 HPD from BT3. So here's my Imperialdramon deck. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. The main goal of the deck really is to attack as much as you can and just delete your opponent's security as fast as you can. It really is a rushdown deck at its core. So that's my Imperialdramon in the current EX3 meta. So there you have it. Imperialdramon is a really solid starter deck, and I highly recommend you get your hand on at least 2 copies of it. And, just play around with it. Just have fun with it. Make it at least a casual Imperial deck, because I really feel like Imperialdramon is one of the best decks in the game. It's just a lot of fun. It's aggressive. It does a lot of fun, silly things. It suspends your opponent. It does delete some sources. It can bounce Digimon. And of course, it just likes to swing, draw cards, and get sweet, sweet memory. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope my video was able to help you in some way. Maybe just improve your Imperialdramon deck, or just straight up buy some starter decks and make a really good deck out of it. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys made it to the end. You guys are the best. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you enjoyed my content, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace!